You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
The legendary rock drummer Carmine Appice travels the country and continent, spreading the contagious, driving, thundering drum rhythm that thump your rump and roll your soul. Carmine Appice spans the globe, never resting his sticks or feet, and pledging to all to rock till you drop. Where in the world is Carmine?
Come out, wherever you are.
Where the hell is Carmine?
Hey, dude.
What's going on, man?
Well, I'm in Connecticut, and we're just getting ready to have another thunderstorm here. Call it a weather report. That's what's going on here.
That's what's up, dude. I got a huge fan of yours in the studio.
Oh, really? Who's that?
Yeah, it's Larry WACHS. He is an Atlanta radio guru and pioneer.
Hi, Carmine.
Oh, no kidding. Hey, Larry, how are you?
I'm an amateur drummer, and I had your sticks when I was 16.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Uh-huh.
That's cool. That's good.
So you're unbelievable. Like, I drum.
Oh, thank you.
I have hot legs on my iPod, and I sit on my kit, and I try to.
Right, yeah, all those little licks there. Good.
You got great licks. So nice to meet you.
Great, man. Thank you. Last weekend we went to Midwest with Cactus, and that was great. We had a really great time. The band sounds great. And I've been home since Sunday here in Connecticut. We had a rehearsal with the bass player and the keyboard player, second keyboard player from the Rascals. So we've been doing that. It's starting to sound really good. And my next gig now is the Rascals on July 18th in a couple of weeks. And we're just putting all the logistics together for the Rascal shows. I got 3 Rascal shows, and I got 2 weeks of Vanilla Fudge shows. The Hippie Fest with Vanilla Fudge, Rick Derringer, Mitch Ryder, and Joey Mullen from Badfinger. So that's going to be a fun tour. We've got 8 shows of that, and then I go back with the Rascals. So it's going to be a busy summer once it starts.
Man, I love to hear good news. It's always good news with you, man. I love your positivity, your outlook. You're doing huge things. Even Kanye sampling your stuff. That's amazing.
Unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That thing is, so somebody told me it had 100 million streams around the world. I said, whoa, that's unbelievable. So things are rocking. We're having a good time.
Hey, Carmine, I saw a video with Kenny Aronoff, and he was showing off his recording studio and all the mics that he had and everything. And he was going over with the interviewer like his 8 keys to stay in shape, because it's such a physically demanding thing. And as you get on in years, like, what is your routine to stay in condition to drum?
I really don't have any problem drumming. I just stay in condition for my health.
What are your
Well,
key things?
I try and go to the gym every other day, sometimes 2 in a row. I just do the treadmill for like 20 minutes, and then I do the bike for 10 minutes, and do some weights for 15 minutes. So it's like a 45-minute workout, the sit-ups and all that stuff, and just get the heart rate up. And then when I'm in the gym in New York, I'll go take a steam room and a sauna. And jacuzzi. But here in Connecticut, we have a big room we call our gym. We have a treadmill and a workout facility there, and I got drums in there. So I can, sometimes I work out. Like this morning, I worked out before breakfast. Yesterday, I took off, but Monday and Tuesday, I did workouts in the morning and then rehearsed in the afternoon. So, I just try and eat good and do these workouts. But I don't have any specific thing that's for drumming. It's really for my health, because I'm 71 years old,
Yeah, do you think it's possible?
Kenny's younger than me.
I can't imagine a drummer having a faulty heart and be able to keep rhythm.
Well, I mean, some drummers have faulty hearts. Some drummers I knew had heart attacks on the stage, and passed away on the stage.
Ooh.
But when I'm doing a solo, I can feel my heart rate's about 130.
That's pretty good.
But because I do exercise and I do treadmill stuff, and I get my heart rate up to 130 a lot, and plus playing. So, hopefully, I just had a heart echo, and my heart is in good shape. It's in strong shape. And my friend Vinnie Paul just passed away, from what I hear, it was from a heart attack. But he was still, I guess, every time I seen him, he was always partying. He had people at his house and his pool in Vegas. He owned a couple of strip bars. He was always out at them, always out. Always had guys with him, always had a drink in his hands,
Did you party a lot back in the day?
Back in the day, I never did cocaine and all that stuff. Let's put it that way. I used to, if I was drinking, I'd have a couple of brandy and cokes. I was never a beer drinker. I never liked beer. I smoked a little marijuana now and again. Like not wake up in the morning, smoke all day. I did some peyote in the day. But that was like in the 70s.
Right.
I never smoked cigarettes either. That's another good thing for the heart. Smoking cigarettes is real bad for the heart.
I think that's why you're still around.
Yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I almost wasn't at the beginning of the year, but I got through it.
What happened?
Well, I had a medical emergency, and I had bad nosebleeds in my life. Oof. And I had one on a plane coming back from Europe. My brother and I got dropped off with my brother at the Azores in the middle of nowhere. I had to have medical airlift. I went to Paris. That didn't work. And I have another one back from New York. By the time I got there, the gauze that I had in my nose was infected. And it was a septic infection. It almost hit my brain. If it would have hit my brain, I would have been done. I was like 24 hours away from that when I got to New York and they took it out. And I was recuperating for 2 months at the beginning of the year. So,
man, I'm just so glad you're doing okay. I mean, without
yeah,
that.
Me too.
It's just awesome to hear your voice, man, and what you got going on. Still touring, still rocking, man. And so you're still touring with Cactus and the Rascals. How's your brother doing?
He's good. He just came back from a 35-city tour of Europe. That 20 of them was going to be me with him. But since that thing happened to me in Europe, I said I'm not going to Europe anymore because if anything happens in Europe, the hospitals don't speak English. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
So he's like 11 years younger than me, so he can still do that, put up with it. 11 years ago, I had no problems going to Europe, but I'm pretty much going to stay in the States now.
I got to tell you, man, I've been following your advice, been rocking out to Sinister the last week, raising some serious hell in the suburbs, man. Windows down, good. AC cranked up, the top down. It is the best album to jam to. It really is, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, I got my new album coming out. It's going to be coming out probably in the fall. It's my Guitar Zeus album. It's a series. The music is awesome, and I got all the great guitar players playing with me. I just finished a brand new track that was never released. It has Bumblefoot on it from Guns N' Roses. I got other guitar players with Brian May, Slash, Ingrid Malmsteen, Steve Morse, Richie Sambora, Elliot Easton, Ted Nugent, Dweezil Zappa. They're all on this record. Even Steven Seagal and John McEnroe play some guitar on it. So that came out originally in 1995, but it was never released here. Did well in Europe, did well in Japan. Never really released it here, so we're going to release it on my own label on Spotify and Pandora and all that stuff. And then my label Rocker Records is going to release the CD and maybe a vinyl. We'll see how it goes, But because really it's all going to that streaming stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, look at Kanye. He did 100 million streams. That's where all his airplay is, on the streams.
It's unreal, man.
Yeah, so we're going to do just a streaming thing. I got a really big company that's going to manage it. They're well in tune with social media and how to promote stuff on social media and the internet. And with all those big names, even Neil Sean is on the record, from Journey. When I did those records in the 90s, everybody was like has-beens, The grunge was big. And these albums sound like grunge meets Blue Murder meets the Beatles,
What other drummers were on the record?
Just me. Just me.
Okay.
It's called Guitar Zeus, Guitar Gods, done by a drummer. I got Tony Franklin playing bass on pretty much all of it, and it's really, really, really great stuff.
Who'd you learn
the
drums
songs
from?
are really good. What I learned drums from?
Yeah,
I played a while for myself, and then I took lessons from a guy named Dick Bennett in Brooklyn, which I went through all the classic books, and it improved my playing a lot when I took lessons. And I was able to read, I was able to then write drum books, about rock drumming. That did really well, Guys like Kenny Arnoff, Kenny Arnoff is on my DVD of my realistic rock book. Kenny Arnoff is on it, Joe Tempest is on it. My brother Vinny, my friend Bob Rondinelli, they're all showing you how to play stuff from my book. And people like Dave Weckl, Greg DeSonet, the guys from Goo Goo Dolls, and just many, many guys. The guy from Slipknot, they all went through my book. Even Fred Astaire went through my book.
Fred Astaire?
How about that? Fred Astaire, yeah.
For foot rhythm? Or
He's a drummer. He's a drummer. When I play with Rod, this is in my book, this story. I play with Rod Fred Astaire and Gregory Peck came to see our show. And then at a party, Gregory Peck came up to me. It was at Rod's party and said that Fred Astaire loved my drumming, my solo. He thought it was as good as Gene Krupa's solo. Gene Krupa was my idol. So that was like, wow. And I said, Fred Astaire said that? And I'm going, Gregory Peck's telling you this. It was like amazing. So they told me that Fred always wanted to play rock drums, didn't know how. So I said, well, I have a book. Right, so I gave him a copy of the book with a little note inside, and I got a letter back from Fred Astaire.
Are there any recordings of Fred Astaire doing rock drumming? That would be unbelievable.
No, it's not rock drumming. It's recordings of him playing drums on YouTube, videos and in movies.
Just looking at his dancing, I would guess he would be a whiz on the double bass.
Well, he would be, but I don't think he played double bass. He just played the stock drum set.
Oh.
But as one of the videos, he played drums in it. It was pretty good. I saw it. Somebody turned me on to that. So I got from now until the 12th to, the 4th of July, rehearse once a week with the bass player and the keyboard player, second keyboard player, because, we never played those songs. And we wanted to get a head start on playing the songs instead of just going in 5 days of rehearsal. And there's really not a lot of time in those rehearsals. So we decided that we wanted to play the songs a few weeks in advance so we get used to playing the song. So when we go to rehearsal, we don't have to start learning the songs,
Yeah, we got Larry playing the drums in studio right now. He's kicking.
Can you name that tune? I don't know if you can.
I can't hear him.
Oh, all right. Let me try to. All right, here we go.
No, I can't name that tune. What is it?
It's a Rascals tune.
Oh, play it again.
Okay, right, here we go.
Well, it could be People Gotta Be Free, or it could be Wonderful, or it could be what's that one? Lonely Too Long.
It was Good Lovin'.
That's Good Lovin'?
Yeah.
Oh, I was hearing it different. I was hearing a down cut time with quarter notes on the snare.
Okay.
So.
It's hard to do over the phone. I'll give it to you verbally.
Yeah, I hear it now. Yeah, since you said Good Lovin', I knew I hear it.
Yeah.
But, it depends on what the count off is,
Right.
You can go like 1, 2, 3, 4, wonderful, wonderful,
What's your count in for Good Lovin'?
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, like I said, 1, 2, 3, Good Lovin', ding, 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 ding.
Right.
Yeah,
they counted in on the record. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't hear the count off, you just hear the drum part, especially over the phone. It could be up tempo, it could be cut time, it could be anything.
Yeah. You can't hear all the beats over the phone.
Well, I hear the beats, but when you start, it starts with it sounded like it started on the snare drum to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which gives me a quarter notes on the snare drum.
Right.
Bomb, 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 rather than boom, ga, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba,
Dee-da-da, 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 dee-da-da. I was kind of
Yeah. So.
Cool.
But good. Well, I'll be playing that every night.
When are you coming to Atlanta?
We have no gigs with Fudge or Rascals yet in Atlanta. So I'm sure there will be at one point, with Rascals especially. All right, cool, dude. Well, look, I got to run. I got another station to call. I'll talk to you guys. Larry, nice meeting you. I'll see you soon.
Nice meeting you.
Sounds good, Carmine. Have a good one, bro.
Play some Sinister, bro. See ya.
Will do.
Bye.
Welcome to Wynn's World. It's weird science time.
Indeed, it is time for Weird Science. And folks, we bring nothing but the best, and the best is Reasons to Believe. You can find them online, reasons.org. This time with founder of RTB, Dr. Hugh Ross. Hugh, how you been, man?
Doing really well, thank you.
Absolutely. In the news cycle as of late, everybody's talking about this massive Mars discovery. Let's start from square one. This is really nothing new. Curiosity's been at it for several years now. There's been a little bit of snafu with the equipment up there. But what does this discovery mean in your opinion?
What was brand new is that Curiosity's drill device managed to get repaired virtually over a course of 18 months. So it's the first time it was actually able to drill into Martian soil, pull a sample out, and analyze it. And that was a big NASA announcement because what they said, we found organic molecules in rocks from an ancient lake bed. That's a direct quote from NASA astronomer Jennifer Eigenbrod. And that's what generated all the excitement. And our colleague, Paul Mahaffey, jumped in and said organic compounds are fundamental to our search for life. And so people got the idea, wow, this means that they've actually found this stuff that's the building blocks of life. But if you actually dig a little deeper, what you find is that they were announcing the discovery of methane. And what a lot of lay people don't realize is that organic, from a scientific perspective, is any molecule that contains carbon and hydrogen. And what Curiosity found was one of the simplest of the hydrocarbon molecules, namely methane, which is a single carbon atom joined with 4 hydrogen atoms. And I think what got them excited here on Earth, most of our methane comes from biological sources.
Right.
That's because we have a lot of bacteria that expel methane as part of their metabolic process. We also have bacteria that feed on methane. But they did announce in their thing that, yes, we do get methane from non-abiotic processes, and what I wrote in my blog article is why that almost certainly is a source of the methane that Curiosity discovered. We expect it on Mars because when you drill in, you're going to find subterranean ice, and if that ice is close enough to the surface, it will occasionally melt and not immediately evaporate like ice that is on the surface of Mars. And therefore that water can participate in a reaction with gas and rock to make methane. And to me, the proof of the pudding is that Curiosity was also able to detect atmospheric methane. It's actually been doing that for 3.5 years. And what they discovered is that in the Martian summer, that methane goes up, and the winter it goes down. Well, in the summer, you're going to be heating the Martian soil a little more than the winter.
Sure. And
that's going to stimulate the reaction of water, gas, and rock to make methane.
The blog that Dr. Hugh Ross is referencing is available at reasons.org. This is a fantastic read. It's pretty short and to the point. And Dr. Ross, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, as my listeners and friends know, but there's a really interesting part of your blog that you posted about some of the fossils that end up on the planet of Mars and how fossils also end up on the moon, and comparing the fossils from those found on the moon rather than those on Mars. Go into a little bit of detail about that finding.
Yeah, I make the point that Earth has been so prolific with bacterial life that it's simply inevitable that the fossils of Earth's life has been deposited on all the solar system bodies. Mm-hmm. And, friends of mine have actually calculated how much would reach Mars. It's about 200 kilograms for every 100 square kilometers of that Earth material be there. And in 1 ton of Earth soil, you're going to have 100 quadrillion microbes. And therefore, you're going to find a significant number of the fossils of Earth's life. But on the moon, it's 20,000 kilograms.
Wow.
So we have a much better shot of finding the fossils of Earth's life on the moon than we do on Mars. And I think what's exciting, most of those fossils come from the early history of the Earth, the early part where the Earth's geology destroyed the fossils of Earth's first life. We can literally go to the moon or Mars, find the fossils of Earth's first life, and see who got the origin of life model right, the theists or the non-theists. And I actually got to speak at NASA Houston to the scientific team there and told them the last time I checked, that made up 100% of the U.S. taxpayer base, so everybody should be thrilled with a NASA mission to discover who got the origin of life model right.
How do the fossils themselves point to a creator or just happenstance?
Okay, well, the fossils of Earth's first life get to the moon by meteoritic bombardment. Every time a big enough meteoroid hits the Earth, it will cause Earth's soil to escape Earth's gravity and be wafted throughout the solar system. So that explains how they get to the moon. The moon has very little geology, so those fossils should be there in pristine form. And yeah, theists make the prediction that you're going to see multiple species of bacteria at the origin of life, and they'll be diverse, and there'll be some small and some large, whereas non-theists predict there'll be a single species where the bacterium will be 10 times smaller than the average size of bacteria in the face of the earth today, and also that you won't find photosynthetic bacteria, whereas theists predict that you will. So yeah, two different models. We can go to the moon and see who got it right.
Let's just say I had an atheist on the phone with you right now. Would he agree with that synopsis of based on the findings of the fossils on the moon with what you just said?
I think they would. In fact, I got a whole chapter on that in our book, Origins of Life. And I basically recite the non-theists for what they think they expect.
Seems like this is a pretty clear-cut case, right? So if believers and non-believers alike can agree on a way to figure it all out, why hasn't this been done yet?
Well, the original Apollo mission was focused on getting pristine lunar rocks. As I said, I spoke at NASA Houston and said,
right,
I think we've got a case for returning to the moon to find Earth-transported soil. And we don't have to send people. It can all be done with machines at relatively low cost. I don't know why nobody's not doing it, but I do understand that the Chinese are interested in doing it. So they may be the ones that made the discovery.
What would be the overall outcome of this? Let's just say that the Bible's correct and that creation is an actual fact. How would this rock the science community, in your opinion?
Well, I think it will get them thinking. Most research scientists I engage are so focused on the research, they never think about the most important issues of life. I think a discovery like this would kind of be a wake-up call saying, wow, there's more to life than just having fun doing scientific research.
Just to piggyback on the previous question, though, let's just say they do find several forms of organic matter, bacteria. How would this make the Bible stand out as the Word of God, in your opinion?
The Bible makes the point that God has packed the earth with as much life as possible, as long as possible, and as diverse as possible. And with the goal of having a planet packed with billions of human beings. And therefore, we'd expect that the origin of life would not be a single tiny bacterium. It's going to be a whole ecology of bacteria, big and small, with different metabolic reactions. And therefore, we'd expect that, if you go to the moon, we're going to find that, number one, the bacteria are quite plentiful, more plentiful than you'd expect from a non-theistic perspective. And it's not just a single bacterium. We actually find evidence that there's an entire bacterial ecology going on. And I think this would get people thinking, okay, is that really necessary to get humans on the face of the earth? And I've written books to the effect, yes, it absolutely is necessary that the earth have the origin of life as early as physically possible, and the earth at that time be packed with diverse species in great abundance. Otherwise, the planet won't be chemically be prepared in time for the entry of human beings.
Man, always with the keenest of insights. The fine folks from Reasons to Believe, reasons.org, at @RTB_official. All of Dr. Hugh Ross's books and blogs are available on that website, reasons.org. Dr. Ross, it's always a pleasure when we get to be enlightened by the huge brains out there in California, man. Your organization does an amazing job of really helping folks to see the balance between God and science, and that God really is the founding scientist, because after all, science and faith aren't mutually exclusive. They really do work in tandem, wouldn't you say?
They're allies. They're not enemies, and that's kind of our message. God gave us two books, the book of nature, the book of scripture. We're to study both.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Thank you, Dr. Ross, for your time. I really appreciate it here in When's World.
Oh, you're very welcome. My pleasure.
More When's World coming up right after we pay the gas bill.
How the hell do they know that I got gas?
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment.
reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
This is Jenny Earhart with Southern Sisters Radio, and I'm your Southern Sister. In case you didn't know, you can check us out every Sunday at 2 p.m. right here on KLRN. And I'd love to hear from you. Email me at radio@southernsistershome.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to When's World. As you know, When's World is full of levity, canned laughter, and forced responses. But today, we have an awesome lady in When's World, and we're going to talk about civil rights here in America. I know a lot of us probably think, like, civil rights, that was so 1950s. We're already there in so many ways. But in other ways, perhaps we still have room to go. And that's why we have Linda Mancias, PhD, right here in When's World. Linda, how are you?
Thank you. I am great. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Linda was so sweet. She brought the Wens here a copy of her latest book, Presidents and Mass Incarceration, Choices at the Top, Repercussions at the Bottom. Let's start from square one. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Linda.
Okay, I teach at Georgia Gwinnett College. I teach American government. I teach judicial American process, American judicial process, and I teach women in politics at Georgia Gwinnett College. I really like teaching there. I like students, and so I've been there for 7 years.
Wow, 7 years. I think when I was at KSU, we came and stole your mascot. We'll bring it back one of these days, but for right now, it's still locked up in the basement. That's
good.
Okay.
Okay.
What is the mascot at Georgia?
It's a grizzly bear. We're the Grizzlies.
He eats a lot.
Yeah.
He eats a lot. I needed a reminder of what I stole. Sometimes I forget these things.
Yeah, grizzly bear. Yeah.
But all joking aside, Linda is on a mission. She is one of those people that really cares about America and the people that live here. And Linda, as you know, immigration has been, I believe, the top story on all the news cycles. And I wanted to give you an opportunity, in light of your experience and your knowledge and your wisdom over the last 15 years of covering the law and order movement and holding our government accountable, to kind of help us all understand what's going on exactly at our southern border.
Yes. So what's going on right now at our southern border is Jeff Sessions and Donald Trump, our two very conservative lawmakers, have decided that anybody who actually enters the United States is breaking the law. Okay. And so what they're doing at this point is they're detaining these people who have come to America for certain reasons, all kind of reasons, okay, from South America generally right now. And so it has caused basically chaos at the border. We don't have the facilities to detain these people in. We don't have the people, to make it an easy transition. It's a new policy, right? An enforced policy. And so it's making our borders even more dangerous than they were before. And so it was not a well thought out policy, in my opinion. It could have been done much differently. But now, of course, you've seen the news clips. You see these mothers being separated from their children. You see these families that we don't know if they're going to ever get back together again. The way the process has been handled, we don't know that these small babies are going to see their mothers again because the way it has been handled. And so it's really a crisis of humanity on the border right now, and it's been caused by an administration who really didn't think well about this public policy. It's about public policy.
When you look a little bit at this public policy that we're seeing now with Trump and Sessions, past administrations have had similar viewpoints. Obama was very clear. Clinton was very clear about our southern border and protecting it. Why do you think that Trump is getting such a bad rap for just enforcing the policy that's been there for so many years?
Well, I think it's not so much the policy, it's the way it has been handled, okay? It's about the process of how it's been handled, okay? And so, whenever you see these desperate people coming into America, yes, everybody thinks we need some sort of border control. That's not the problem. But you do it in a really orderly fashion, and you do it in a humane fashion. This has not happened here. It was a quick policy that was done, and the human repercussions have been gigantic, and the political repercussions have been gigantic also, right? And so, again, I think that it just was not well thought out in terms of what they were doing and how they were going to do this.
So how could they do it better, I guess, would be the question.
Well, I go back to what President Obama did. Do we have all this huge kind of war whenever he did it? No, because he did it in a fashion where people coming into the country were stopped, and then they were detained. And but this way, it just has been sort of a chaotic and fiasco at the border.
And in case you're just joining us, we're with Linda Mancia. She is author of Presidents and Mass Incarceration. She's a PhD with a focus on the law and order movement and an advocate for civil rights. Her book is available everywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Just Google Presidents and Mass Incarceration. You can pick it up there. And you'll probably even sign a couple copies, right?
I'd love to.
She even signed the Wenzel's copy right here. And you're talking about breaking the law, right? As somebody who was born here, just the God-given luck of being born somewhere, it's not up to us. It's ultimately up to those who brought us into this world. What do you say to those of us who kind of see the point of people that have been trying to get in quote, the right way for years, and all of a sudden people are jumping fences? It doesn't seem very fair to them. Does it to you?
Well, what I see is we have criminalized the immigration process, right? I don't think that's good public policy. America's known for their immigrants, right? And so why are we criminalizing it is the question here, all right? So, people who are trying to escape South America under horrible conditions,
right.
To be stopped and separated from your parents, from your family, is this a correct way to do it? I don't think it is, and I think there are other ways to do it than to separate families, So it is a tough situation. I am not saying that it's not. It is a complex and tough situation. But America is known for welcoming the immigrant, and I just hate to see this discourse where we are almost at immigrant hatred at this point, and I don't think we should be there. I think we should do this in an orderly fashion, keep families together, okay, and go through the process and establish the process. And I read a story just recently about how conflicted the Border Patrol agents are, because they're seeing this human tragedy kind of revealed before their eyes, and they can't do much about it, right? And so they're even in a quandary about how to handle the situation.
And it is very complex. And I was going to reference this before, but I've seen pictures of similar situation during Obama's tenure, 8 years in the White House. And the conditions weren't much better. I mean, kids are sleeping on mats, in cages. But for some reason, the media protected that. Why do you think that was?
I'm not so sure the media protected that. There's just a greater interest in the way Trump did it. Again, the way Trump did it. I was looking at President Obama, and he's one of my heroes. But whenever I started seeing what was happening in terms of detention, I was going, wait a minute, President Obama, this is not, this is not what, I think that we're supposed to be doing. And so again, I think it was the way that it was handled, and President Trump likes publicity, right? He likes to get out there.
That's very true.
And he causes himself. I mean, really, he did. He's the one that tweets. He's the one that gets out there. He's the one that makes these policies. And so, in a way, he's the one. He's the blame for everything around this situation in terms of the way he handled it and the way his administration. And and Jeff Sessions quoting the Bible. All that just made news, right? And all of it was sort of like ironic that they were doing that sort of stuff while they were separating families. So again, it's been a media. The media's loved it, right? The media have loved the way this is played out.
Sure. It's a good story to cover because people are interested, and rightfully so. I mean, as somebody of Hispanic descent, this kind of touches you personally, right?
Oh, definitely. My grandmother, I say she migrated. She didn't immigrate because, remember, Mexico was part of, America, all that stuff. And so my family is actually from Chihuahua, and my grandmother came down, and before New Mexico was even a state, right? So whenever New Mexico became a state, then they got their citizenship. I'm not sure she ever really knew she was a citizen, though. Actually, she didn't speak English; she spoke Spanish. But my family has lived here, for years and years and years. All my family is basically what I call legal, but what I really want to say is they have papers. Okay.
Right.
I hate that illegal, that alien business. All those words that we use to describe immigrants is just pathetic in my and immigrants have made this country. I don't care if you're from Mexico, if you're from Ireland. My mother's Scots-Irish. My mother's maiden name's McLeod. And I'm a full mixed breed American here.
I hear. I'm a mutt. All my family's from Europe.
Yeah,
all different countries.
Yeah,
so,
and that's what we that's our strength here. And to treat immigrants like they were criminals just because they stepped foot in America, I have a real problem with that.
So, it's not to cut you off, but we're up against a hard break. But I want to bring you back next week, and we're going to talk about why there's a lot of back and forth as it pertains to immigration, what we're seeing in Europe, how the administration right now is trying to avoid situations like that where a lot of criminals are coming in, and how that applies to the overall mass incarceration system here in America. Does that sound good to you, Linda?
That's wonderful, because I did a study abroad actually in the Netherlands. Okay, and the Netherlands handled incarceration and much differently until they started to have an influx of immigrants from Africa. And so then they kind of, they had to kind of do things differently too. And so, I've done a lot looking at immigration, looking at what we call crimes. Okay. And so that's a very interesting topic too. Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Yeah, so let's do that next week. But in the meantime, folks, check out Linda Mancias, and of course, grab her book. It's on the shelf and online, Presidents and Mass Incarceration, Choices at the top, repercussions at the bottom. Linda, what's the best way people can get in contact with you till next week?
Okay, so I have Georgia Gwinnett College has a website, and I'm on the faculty directory. You have my email address there. You have my phone number there. You have anything that you need to contact me on that page.
Awesome. Looking forward to next week.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
More coming. Stay with us, folks.
I love me some good old-fashioned wrestling.
The Rock actually cares about this ongoing soap opera.
This is your male soap opera moment.
Look out, Booch! We're getting extreme here in When's World. A pay-per-view coming up that's so extreme, they're actually calling it Extreme Rules. And as you know, Booch, it is time to make our way too early Extreme Rules prediction right here in When's World. We're cutting up big time with the one and only wrestling encyclopedia, Vincent Kennedy Bucci.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The male soap opera moment is back in full effect. We have survived the rain, and we are ready to get extreme in When's World.
And, of course, our way too early predictions will kick off with WWE Champion AJ Styles battling the Bulgarian Brute at Extreme Rules. Booch, we're weeks away, but you never know how predictions can change from week to week.
Absolutely. It's anything can happen between now and then, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing what goes down on SmackDown, moving and getting to this point. And all I got to say is, right now, I'm looking at it. I'd be shocked if Rusev doesn't win. I really think Rusev's got the best shot here. He's been insanely over. The Rusev Day chants have been insane, and even when he hasn't won, he's had amazing spots and matches where crowds have literally thought he was going to win, whether it was the double accolade, the triple accolade, and the Money in the Bank. He really shined in that match. So I feel like this is now WWE's chance to capitalize on that and put the belt on him. So right now, my early prediction is Rusev, but depending on how they book him and Styles going forward, that could change. But I think WWE's ready to pull the trigger on Rusev Day.
Hey, you know what? T-shirt sales tell the story.
Yes.
And they're off the charts right now. WWE.com is saturated with Rusev and Lana shirts now. So we're starting to see this transition. And I do believe also that Rusev will be WWE champion in a few weeks. It's time to pull the trigger. He didn't pull the briefcase down. I was swerved with that, but this is WWE's opportunity to make good on that situation. So for once, Booch, we agree. This is amazing.
It doesn't happen every day, but this is a rare moment where we definitely agree. Like I said, I feel like this is Rusev's time.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is his opportunity to finally win the championship. And the thing is, like I said, he's so over, he didn't need the briefcase. I feel like this is better than giving him a briefcase, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is a better way to go.
It looks a whole lot better on that monster shoulder anyway.
Yeah, it does. It kind of does. Like, it's almost like he's going to work. Like, it doesn't even take up his whole body.
Now, what would you say if I told you 5 Feet of Fury was coming up against an irresistible force?
I probably would have said you were crazy, but it happened. The big swerve at Money in the Bank. Everybody remembers that. So, of course, I like the fact that it's just going to be Alexa and Nia, and we'll get to more of that a little later in the show.
Indeed.
But I feel like I don't know where this could go. It depends on... I feel like Nia should win it back. A part of me does, but I think they're really going to roll with Alexa and probably do something with Ronda and her going forward.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Bliss is probably going to retain right now.
Oh, and I hate it because I love Nia Jax, but I also agree in logic here from the analysis standpoint that Alexa Bliss will continue to shine as Raw Women's Champion. Team Hell No reunites. This happened later on the Blue Brand. Of course, we'll get to that mainly on the on-demand version here in One's World. But as we know it, Daniel Bryan and the Devil's favorite Demon Kane will square up against the Bludgeon Brothers. What say you?
Oh, Team Hell No right now has my vote. And I feel like that's the right way to go. Because right now, Daniel Bryan is just now getting back into being the WWE's favorite.
Yeah.
And they loved the chemistry between Daniel Bryan and Kane. Like, their chemistry is so natural, it's insane in the heyday of Team Hell No. I knew this just from interviewing them on The Regular Guys back in the day. Their chemistry is real. Like, it's not something that they have to force on camera. They have that chemistry out of the ring as well, whether it's in the ring, in a studio, wherever they are. It's like you would have thought they've been friends forever the way they play off each other. So it's a perfect way to put a belt on Daniel as well as they wait to eventually put the WWE title on him, which is the direction they want to go. But first, before they can get to the Rumble, they got to do something with Daniel in the meantime to keep everybody excited and wanting to take that slow burn journey again. So the best way to do that, make Team Hell No the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions. And that will put Daniel a little bit more excitement. And then eventually when they drop those titles, you can put Daniel in the main event.
So you're going with Bryan and Kane?
I'm going with Bryan and Kane for now.
Wow, that's so big time. I mean, I feel like the Bludgeon Brothers are due for at least a couple more months, but the way that this looks right now, Booch, though it is way too early, I will say that the Bludgeon Brothers will retain the tag team SmackDown brand championships.
Oh, they could. We'll see what, like I said, anything can change week to week, but right now I think Team Hell No is where they want to go.
Indeed. You could be right. You usually are, and that's why you're usually our prediction champion here in
That's why I'm the current champion right now. Thank you.
You know, that's a really sore subject. We don't have time to discuss everything that goes into that, but let's move on.
Fine, fair enough.
The B team is going to enter the multiverse. Gosh, I hope they beat Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, but it's maybe too early to pull the trigger on the B team?
I don't think it's too early to pull the trigger on the B team. They should have pulled the trigger on these guys a long time ago. They're way overdue for this. So I feel like the B team, I don't know if they're going to win, but I definitely think they should. I feel like this is the right time to put it on the B team. They've just broken away from The Miz. They've just started to get over with the audience. The crowd is buying into what they're selling. The B team is getting over very, very well.
Right.
They're getting a lot of segments. They're getting a lot of airtime. They're winning a lot more matches, and the crowd is responding to it. The only way these guys could get any more over than they already are is if they were somehow converted to the Woken universe, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon, but it could definitely be something they could do down the road. But I feel like the B team, this is their time. Do I think they'll win? I'm not sure. This one's hard to predict. I'll probably go with the B team for now, but this is one that might change my mind. If I'm going to change my mind on any match, it's most likely this one.
You know, I was thinking about this as I was watching a couple nights ago, and I thought to myself, the easiest T-shirt to replicate would be the B Team T-shirt. All you need is a black Sharpie and a white T-shirt, and you're good.
Yeah.
Just a letter B, baby.
It's easy, you know,
Yes.
and you keep it simple. Crowds will wear it more. Like
Yes.
I expect a whole B team section at some point. Like if we go to like a town like, you know, Chicago or Brooklyn or Pennsylvania,
Right.
or, you know, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, we'll probably see an entire section of the arena in B team shirts, just like when they used to hold up Cesaro section stuff.
Because they're like the common man. I mean, I feel like I would be on the B team. Not good enough to make varsity. I'd be rocking JV. You know, sitting on the sideline if I made varsity.
Yeah.
So I think like I can relate to them as a dude, an everyday average dude.
Exactly. The more relatable you are, the more the crowd can connect with you, and the more likely you are to get pushed.
And boy, oh boy, have they been connecting. They've
Yes.
been rocking every seat. People are standing up for the B team.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, we're already starting to see The Miz trying to move on and get more people on his side. You know, two really big dudes.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that here in a few minutes and perhaps
Absolutely.
on the on-demand version. And of course, Asuka has her sights set at Payback, on Payback, and the title at WWE Extreme Rules. We got swerved at Payback. We're coming up on Extreme Rules. I'm not sure what to think about this match. In my heart of hearts, I would love to see Carmella continue to shine. But what say you, Booch?
I feel like Carmella should shine more. I don't feel like she needs Ellsworth to do it. I felt like that was something that was unnecessary. I would have liked to have seen Carmella win a different way, but I think it's going to depend on the stipulation for the match. Who wins? If there's a match with depending on how violent the match can be or what the stipulations are, if Ellsworth can interfere, he might be able to help out, or Asuka might be able to overcome it because she'll be able to do stuff she normally can't do in a match.
Right.
Because that way you don't have to worry about anything else. Like if Ellsworth does interfere, Asuka could incapacitate him, put him out of the picture, and then you got Carmella all to herself. So you could have that scenario, kind of similar to when Nia took Mickie James out of the picture to where Alexa was all by herself.
Great callback.
You know, absolutely, yeah, going into Mania. So now it looks like Asuka could take out Ellsworth, and then all of a sudden Carmella's by herself. What does she do? And then you have a match that's, you know, an extreme, not necessarily an Extreme Rules match, but a match where there's no DQs, no countouts, whatever, and just let them go at it. And then that would be a way for either Carmella to stand on her own 2 feet and be even more of a dominant champion, or for Asuka to take the gold. So I feel like right now, this might be Asuka's moment. You know, I'm never going to rule out a possibility of Asuka winning a championship. I'm just shocked that they've swerved us twice with it, and I have no idea why.
Man, oh man, there's so much more to get to, but we're going to have to do it on demand. But of course, folks, you can connect with the show anytime, anywhere, wensworld.com. And of course, follow the Wrestling Encyclopedia on Twitter at Vince Bucci, BUCCI, and of course, at Wens World Radio. So until next time, I'd like to say,
Bye.
Bang, bang.
Hey, KLRN radio family, this is Jenny Earhart. Check out the Southern Sisters radio show every Sunday at 2 p.m. right here on KLRN. Connect with me on Facebook at Southern Sisters Home with Jenny Earhart. You can also catch our Facebook Live videos, unedited and uncensored. Connect with me personally. Email me at radio@southernsistershome.com.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wens World, and it is refreshing to have a lady on the phone that gets us dudes. With us is Karen Strawn. She has nearly 250,000 followers and subscribers to her YouTube channel, Girl Writes What? Girl, WRITES, what? And, of course, on Twitter at Girl Writes What. How are you doing? Karen Strawn, it's a pleasure to have you in When's World.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, we got this press release. It really made my eyes pop out. And it all stems from this anti-harassment. We've seen this time and time again as of late with Weinstein and Hollywood, but companies are trying to get ahead of this, right, for the inevitable sexual harassment case. And Netflix is doing the exact same thing. Besides raising our rates and deleting content, they're also giving new workplace training to employees in an effort to curtail the sexual harassment, quote, epidemic. Let's go into a little bit of these guidelines. The first one is shout, stop, don't do that again if a colleague has been inappropriate. I mean, most of these are common sense, Karen. What are some things about maybe even that statement that bug you and perhaps don't make sense?
Well, I think it would depend on the level of inappropriateness.
Sure.
I mean, if somebody's just sort of being a little bit obnoxious in, nagging you for a date or something like that, I don't think shouting in a public area and, engaging in that kind of potential humiliation of the other person is necessarily in order. I would say, work your way up with firmer and firmer no's for maybe 2 times, and then that kind of explosion would be appropriate. But certainly if somebody's being seriously inappropriate, as in, physically, getting way too friendly with you, I think that would be something that, and it at least puts the onus on the I guess purported victim involved, puts some onus on them to take care of themselves, and rather than just kind of take it and then take it to HR. It actually, I think that's actually sort of, I don't really have too many objections to that. There are some others that I find really weird.
Well, yeah, I was definitely starting at 1, but there are 8 of these. So let's just touch on the ones that really grind your gears.
Oh, the no lingering hugs.
Oh,
define linger. Define that.
Right. How many
seconds is that?
And what kind of hug are we talking? Are we talking the one-arm side hug? Haven't seen you in a minute because I don't want my front part to perhaps touch your front part. Or are we doing that, full-on both arms? Man, I haven't seen you in years kind of hug. First of all,
or even the bro backpack kind of hug.
Yeah, the one-armed. Hey, bro, what's up?
Yeah, and so essentially, I think that, this is one of those things, too, if you're going to implement rules, and a lot of people have really come down hard on the 5-second, don't look at your coworkers for longer than 5-second seconds rule. But, like everybody, like I've commented, that's the last time I checked, the 5-second rule was when you dropped a piece of bologna on the floor, right? And if you pick it up before 5 seconds, it's still good to eat.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to something like that, I'm actually almost glad that they actually have put a quantifiable line there, because previously it was really just like with lingering hugs, it was all in the mind of the person who's going to complain as to what that really means and how they're going to interpret somebody else's behavior. So
let me interject and ask a simple question. I mean, this can't be in all circumstances, right? Because in a one-on-one dialogue, eye contact and a visual appeal of looking interested is in the best interest of everybody involved. This has got to be for sidebar water cooler chats, would you say?
I don't even like this. I may be staring at somebody from across the room, right?
Wow.
Maybe that's what it's about. Having a face-to-face conversation, of course, you're making lots of eye contact, and looking away makes you look nervous, looking away all the time. And how are you even going to pay attention to what the other person is saying if you're counting in your head to see, okay, when do I have to blink and look away now?
Yeah, it's like the old basketball 3 in the key. How I can stay in here or I might get called for it this time, but maybe not. I mean, they never called that the NBA, but you get it. There's a lot of subjectivity, and a lot of the things on this list, really, I think what they're really ignoring is the main hardwired differences between men and women. And I got to tell you, Karen, Your YouTube channel, Girl Writes What, is absolutely amazing. I was actually watching a video earlier. It's called Men Not Marrying. How deep does the problem go? And you have such an amazing insight into how us guys relate with each other, with ourselves, and with women. What caused you to really want to do that kind of homework, to get into a guy like me, to my head?
Oh, well, I stumbled across the men's movement about 9-10 years ago, just sort of by accident. And it was, one of the things that drew me in was the type of conversation space that was happening underneath the articles on these blogs. It was an intensely masculine space, kind of no holds barred. If you were welcome as a woman to participate right up until you asked for gentler treatment because you were a woman, and then you'd be shown the door. And it was really invigorating. It was just intensely, I guess, pleasurable to be in that space with a bunch of guys who were telling their truth. And one of the things that really struck me when I was there was what guys were saying to each other in that kind of space, that semi-public space, but they're hiding behind avatars.
Right.
So they're speaking their full mind and their full truth. And then I'm thinking of all the men in my life, and I'm thinking, God, they've spared me so much of their grief and their pain and their annoyance and their frustration and all of these things that they must be feeling.
Yeah.
Just day to day. They don't burden me with that. And so it was just this real time of discovery for me in terms of what men are thinking about themselves and about other men and about women and how they perceive the world, and it just got me so interested. And then all of a sudden, like when you're seeing research on domestic violence and stuff like that really counters the public narrative of, it's just men beating women because men want to be in charge of the household or whatever. They want to have control over their wives. That's really not what's going on in that social problem there. It's a whole host of other problems that really have nothing to do with that, and women are just as likely to use violence in their relationships as men are. So when you look at all of those things, it was just normal for me to want to get involved.
When I'm listening to you speak, I'm sure you get a lot of resistance from members of your own sex that say, "Oh, why is she trying to pander to the male? Don't they have enough prowess and power in society?" But it seems like you're coming from a pure place, a place of wanting to lend insight and understanding to, let's be honest, to the world that needs it.
Yeah, I do get a little bit of pushback from, particularly from feminists, but also from women in general,
right,
in terms of that I'm trying to convince men that they're victims of things that they're not, or I'm trying to appeal to a certain type of man who can be convinced that he's hard done by and then will give me attention or money or whatever. But most of the stuff that I talk about, it's very it's well documented in the literature on evolutionary psychology and social psychology and things like that. And there certainly are places in our society where men are socially and legally at a disadvantage compared to women, and in particular areas where they come into conflict with women. You only hear so many stories from a guy saying, "Yeah, she stabbed me and I was the one arrested," before you realize that, okay, there's something going on here that people aren't necessarily noticing.
And what I'd love to do, because we're kind of up against a hard clock here, is to have you back next week and for you to talk a little bit about feminism and the disposable male, because you experience it and you see it, how just being a guy nowadays seems borderline illegal. And I want to perhaps talk about why it's unpopular to be a guy, to be a guy's guy, I guess, for the lack of a better term. And also how society views manly men as toxic, as if there's some sort of toxic masculinity. And I'd love to have you back next week to talk about some of these things, if you're cool with that.
Oh, sounds perfect. Sounds wonderful. I'd love to.
Awesome. Well, in the meantime, folks, you got to connect with Karen Strawn. Her YouTube channel, Girl Writes What, millions of views almost 250,000 subscribers, 250,000 people getting insights with scholarly references, articles quoted. This woman, Karen Strawn, I'll tell you what, it's an absolute blessing to speak with somebody of your intelligence, and it's refreshing. I got to tell you, thank you so much for your time with us this week in Wayne's World. I can't wait to have you back.
All right, thank you so much for having me, and I will happily come back.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.